This is David de Alba from Las Vegas, Nevada, and I am very fortunate to have today two wonderful Brazilian lady sisters, Samantha and Cecilia, who are doing this labor of love of videotaping me, because I would like to have control of this performance, because most of the times I have been filmed by TV crews and film historians. They take hours to film me, and then at the end they archive it in some place and nothing gets aired, so no one have seen all the work I have done on film. So I'll try to be brief. A little bit story about myself. I was born in Camagüey, Cuba, and wonderful times as a child. I remember so many wonderful things in Cuba before the terrible Castro takeover, in which I was sent out a few months after he took over to come to this country to a boarding school. I had a nervous breakdown, so I was for a year in a special school in Bradenton, Florida. And then from there, I went to first year of high school in Palm Beach, Florida, in a very elegant finishing school called Graham Eckes, which no longer is there. And then from there, the second year of high school, of all things, I was sent to a military school in West Virginia because my parents had no more money, and with some kind of a governor, they got a scholarship for me to go to a school. Now, the military school didn't make me butch, but the only thing I learned was discipline, and that discipline carried to the rest of my life. Then after 1 year in that school in West Virginia called Greenbrier, I was sent to Chicago, where my parents were living, and I finished high school at Senn, S-E-N-N High School. I finished my high school there, and I took 1.5 years of college at Wright Junior College. But then they had an aptitude test to see, trade schools came in to see if we didn't want to finish college, what we could do. And I was given a test for cosmetology, and I won half a scholarship at a very prestigious school in Chicago called the American School of Beauty Culture, and I became a cosmetologist. Then my mother says, you better specialize in that field. So I took extra courses in wig styling and bleaching and haircut and everything you can think of. Then is when the theatrical part came, because at that time I was working as a boy dancer in Chicago, dancing modern jazz dances, Latin dances, jazz, and so on. And I did a few nightclubs and TV. I was very young then, in my teens. But one of the hairdresser I knew by saying hi every time I walked by the beauty shop, his beauty shop, he said, I want you to come to my home because I would like to make you up. I have an idea who you look like for the Halloween ball. And when he got through making me up, he says, you look like Judy Garland. And I knew who Judy Garland was, because in Cuba they played her movies with subtitles in Spanish. But I never got to see her, so I started buying records in those days, and I got to see Judy 3 times in Chicago. The first time was at a cartoon feature she did called Gay Paris with Robert Goulet, and it was only the voice, and it was a cartoon about 2 cats in Paris, and Judy played a beautiful female cat, and Robert Goulet played a male cat. So when she came on, after the movie's over, she came from the back of the theater. She was dressed in the most beautiful lavender gown with crystal shoes, and her hair was sprayed in lavender to match the gown, and a beautiful diamond brooch on her waist. She got up on the stage with a gentleman escort, and she said, I bet you were disappointed not to see Judy Garland on the film, but me playing a cat by the name of Musette. And people clapped. And then she took a bow, and her brooch fell down, so she picked it up and she put it back again. She says, I lost more things in my life. Then after that, a year later, she came to Chicago. By the way, I went to the theater alone that night. I don't know why my mother didn't go with me because she went everywhere with me. So next time she came, she sang at the HERI Crown Theater in Chicago. She came with her two children, Lorna and Joey. Joey played the drums and Lorna sang as part of the show. And I got to see her. But I didn't get to meet her. But the last time was in 1968 at the Chicago Opera House, when finally I got to meet her. And after the show was over, her estranged husband, the father of Joey and Lorna, came out from backstage, and he said to the audience waiting for Judy, "She's sweating backstage, so it will take a long time before she comes out." So one girl from the fan club said, "Movie stars don't sweat, they perspire." I thought, oh my God, this guy is German. He's going to bust into fury. So he left, he didn't pay attention, and then Joey and Lorna went after him to a limousine outside. Finally comes out Judy, dressed in a beautiful beige cocktail dress with feathers. And people were lined up in two rows, one here and one here. So she came to say hello and hello and hello. Finally, I'm here, and my mom is here, and Judy's here. And she says, "Did you like the way I sang?" I said, "Of course." And my mother says to her, "Judy, please kiss him. He loves you." So Judy kisses me here, and she says to me, "And who is this lovely lady?" And I said, "This is my mom, Tila." Now Judy looks all of a sudden like a little girl from the Wizard of Oz, Dorothy Gale. She becomes a little girl, and she says to me, "Oh, how I wish I would have had a mother like you have." Those who know about Judy, they know that her mother was very hard on her and caused a lot of problems for Judy when she was young. So that's why she said, "I wish I had a mother like you have." Then, being a teenager, I forgot to bring some kind of a camera to take a photo with her, Polaroid in those days, or I had a playbill for her to sign, but I said, "Oh, Judy, I wanted to tell you, I'm from Cuba and I perform on the stage here, and I impersonate you every weekend." And she says to me in a very modest way, "Do you like me that much?" I said, "Of course I like you that much." She says, "Darling, I would love to come and see you, but I have to leave Chicago tomorrow because I'm going on tour, but I really would love to see you." And then goodbye. She said goodbye. She started saying hello to other people. And I said to my mother, "Wait, I want to see her outside." So I ran outside, and Judy goes into the limousine, kisses her two children, waves goodbye, and the window goes up. 8 months later, she passes away in London. Now, my tribute was only like 2 songs at that time in Chicago. But then I haven't met my partner to be Paul yet. So when I went to San Francisco, and eventually I got to get a job at the world famous Finocchio Club. I like to do a costume change for you now. I'll tell you what happened when I went to San Francisco and how Finocchio's started, and how my second happiest part of my life came about when I left Chicago and went to San Francisco to live. So now I am in San Francisco, and I got to meet some of the famous performers at the Finocchio Club. Life is sarcastic because when a boy is feminine, people make fun of. But at Finocchio's, it paid to be a feminine boy because everybody in the show had to work in drag. And people from all over the world came to see these boys made up as females, but they sang, they danced, they did not lip sync like most of the drag reviews people see. So now I got to meet some of the performers and introduce myself as HERI, the hairstylist and a wig stylist. So they said, "Oh, you do wigs?" So I started to do the wigs for many of them, like a Cuban performer by the name of Bobby De Castro, who was very nice to me, Lucian, who did Sophie Tucker, and Elton Paris, an African American who sang jazz, and many of them. But then when I told them, I do Judy Garland in the show in Chicago, and I sing, oh, you sing? Oh, we have to let Mrs. Finocchio know about it. So I got my foot at the door doing hair, but then when they said, why don't you talk to Mrs. Finocchio? And I told her, she took a liking into me, and she also liked Paul, because by that time Paul was my new loving partner. Very elegant gentleman with class and good manners, just like my parents had. So anyway, Mrs. Finocchio says, well, why don't you come for the first show, I forgot, next week or the week after, and do an audition for me. I said, oh my God. So now I went, and the MC, I don't know if he did it purposely or not, when I went on, he turned the microphone off, and I'm going on the stage, and people say, we don't hear you. Then all of a sudden they said to me from the wings, turn the mic on. So I turned the mic on, and I continued with the song. A very pretty song that went like this. La vida es una tómbola, tom, tom, tómbola. La vida es una tómbola, tom, tom, tómbola. De luz y de colores, de luz y de colores. Y todos en la tómbola, tom, tom, tómbola. Y todos en la tómbola, tom, tom, tómbola. Encuentras un amor, tómbola. And it goes on. It's a mambo rock from Spain. So I didn't get the job immediately, but 3 weeks later, Miss Finocchio calls and says, David, that was my name, HERI, yeah, HERI. Would you like to be part of my shows? Oh my God. So my mother said, we have to get you some costumes and more arrangement because I didn't have enough. So I go there, and there were 4 shows. Thank God I knew about makeup, and I was very young and pretty, so that helped. So I knew how to do my wig and the makeup, and then costumes. But then the music, I have to find the musical director who wrote, I gave him the music from recordings in Spanish and English, because she wanted me to sing in Spanish and also in English. So I said, here are some of the songs I know. So he took the record, Bill, oh my goodness, I have a senior moment, the director of the orchestra, it will come to mind very soon. And he took the songs and he did 4 pieces for piano, tenor sax, drums, and bass. So now I have arrangement, but there's 4 shows. So we have to have, and I would do 2 to 3 songs per show. So I have to have enough songs for 4 shows. Mrs. Finocchio said, I want you to be yourself. I don't want any impersonations. From time to time, you can do Judy, and then eventually Liza, when she did cabaret, I threw Liza in. But she wanted me to be, so Paul says, we are going to create an act for you in Spanish. And the name will be Boy Chick. It's a boy doing a chick. So, but they couldn't pronounce my name. The MC would say Eric or Harry. Paul said, this is not good. They can't pronounce HERI. So he took David from the Bible, and then the Alba from the Duchess of Alba from Spain, and David the Alba was born. So here comes the MC, Carol Wallace, a very elegant person in drag, says, I will have a very special announcement for you tonight. And he says, let's bring to the Finocchio Club stage the warm and charming personality of David the Alba. And he hit it right on. I was warm and I was always charming. And then he pronounced David the Alba instead of Harry or Eric. So here I come, and I was there. After my contract ended, then Miss Finocchio said one day to me, well, we had to change the show, so you may be off for a while, but I will have you as my special guest. So I was off for a while, but then she would call me, David, Laverne Cummins, the star of the show, is sick. Come and be here for 2 weeks. Or the MC is sick or on vacation, so I will have to do MC. So I was back and forth all this time. And I said to her, Mr. Finocchio, some of the boys are making fun of me backstage. They said, I am like an old shoe. The moment Mrs. Finocchio calls, David the Alba rushes. She says, tell them. She had the answers for everything. What's more comfortable than wearing an old shoe? Who wants to break a new shoe? And you're the only one I ever asked back. So tell them you're back because Mrs. Finocchio wants you back. So I did that. Unfortunately, in 1989, Paul's the company, he was a mechanical engineer and a project manager, sold out, and all the big shots like him were out. So one day I come home, I was working in my hair salon, and not at Finocchio's. My hair salon was called HERI, H-E-R-I, the hairstylist of the stars. And I come home, our home was at that time in Santa Cruz, California, beautiful place near the ocean. And I see Paul almost white like a ghost, and he was shaking, perspiring. He says, I lost my job. I said, what do you mean? He said, I went to work, I put my car in, it didn't work, and the security guard says, you don't work any longer here. I said, after all these years, this is the way they treat employees, but this was the new company, not the old company. So now, a few hours later, Paul has a light heart attack from this horrible happening, and they rush him to the hospital and they give him an angioplastic operation. He gets well. And now he applies for jobs everywhere in California, nothing happens. And the people that he helped, nobody would give him a hand. So now I am working at a beauty shop. My mom, who was she retired, she has 7 degrees and she became a secretary, she was helping me. She said, well, what we are going to do? I said, well, if we have to sell this beautiful house, we have to move to whatever state he finds a job. And the job of all places became available in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So here, this beautiful house, my shop and Finocchio's, everything had to be stopped. Paul left for New Mexico, and then we put our house for sale, the beauty shop for sale, and my parents' house for sale, because my parents always follow me everywhere. So now, La Cache was a very famous nightclub in Los Angeles. I met a few years before when I went with Paul to Los Angeles to see their show, the manager. And he said, if we ever open a show in San Francisco, I call you. 2 days before escrow closes. Is this David? Yes. We're opening La Cache nightclub a few blocks away from Finocchio's. And we would like you to be our Judy Garland main act. And I said to him, this is the hardest thing I have to do in my life. I have to turn down this job because within 2 days from now, I am moving to New Mexico. So our life was never the same. From New Mexico, we went to Arizona and landed up in Las Vegas. But the thing that held me up, although my mother says we could never duplicate the fun we all had in San Francisco, was I had my parents alive and I had Paul alive. He was with me for 46 years. I had my friends, fans, hair customers that were very nice to me. They treated me almost like a son. They would invite me and my mother and my father and Paul sometimes to their house for dinner. And they would say they passed away. So it's like a tsunami that came out of the ocean and took everybody out. So I see myself all of a sudden, my mother dies in 2008, and then in 2017, Paul, we come home from Golden Corral, eating. We used to go to eat there lunch all the time, and he sits down by the steps to take his shoes off because we don't walk with shoes in the house. And he starts perspiring profusely, and he says to me, David, I'm having a heart attack. I never heard that expression before. I call 911. The male nurses come in the ambulance. They asking questions. He was talking perfectly, just like I'm talking to you now. So I thought, well, people survive heart attacks. They put stents, whatever they call it. They put pacers, whatever. So they take him in a gurney, and they said, we are going to take him to Sunrise Hospital because they specialize in the heart. An hour and 20 minutes later, the phone rings, and is this Mr. Garcia? I say, yes. He said, I'm sorry, This is the way I was told. Mr. Reiner didn't make it, and the doctor hangs up. And here I am, alone. I said, what? He didn't make it? The most horrible feeling. Since that time, I'm still in a blaze, like, I cannot believe what happened. Now, so my life went from happiness to ovations and flowers and doing hairdressing and being with wonderful performers on the stage, meeting famous people that came to the nightclub because it was world famous. I would have all kinds of famous movie stars coming backstage to say hello to me and to Laverne and to some of the other boys. To be all of a sudden in a beautiful home here, a shrine, alone. What a contrast. Now, people tell me, David, you have to remember what a wonderful past you had and be happy that you had that, because some people don't even ever had that. Yes, I'm very grateful for that. But then the contrast is so strong that it's very pale. It's like if you're born blind and you have never seen the light, you cannot appreciate a rainbow. But if you have had 20/20 vision for years and you go to war and you lose your eyesight and everything is black, it's not the same feeling. That's the way I feel sometimes, like I lost everything. So thank God I got pets and memories, but sometimes memories can be painful because we had such a wonderful life. People complain about their parents and about their husbands or wives, but out of 10 things, my mother and I, we got along with 8. Out of 10 things, Paul and I, we got along with 8. The blending was almost perfect. So if I had to make a movie, I would call it an almost perfect union. How hard or how easy it is to find. Not easy, especially nowadays. But I go out and do this and do that, but I wanted to make this film so people can see that I'm still alive, that David the other is still alive, at least halfway alive. And I wanted to narrate something about you. I wanted to sing something for you. And here is the Mambo Rock La Tombola, my auditioning song at FINOCCHIO'S, that the boys in the cast liked it so much that from then on, instead of calling me David, they used to call me Tombola. I said, really? That's how much they like it. Okay. La vida es una tómbola, tom, tom, tómbola. La vida es una tómbola, tom, tom, tómbola. De luz y de colores, de luz y de colores. Y todos en la tómbola, tom, tom, tómbola. Y todos en la tómbola, tom, tom, tómbola. Encuentras un amor, tómbola. En la tómbola del mundo yo he tenido mucha suerte, porque todo mi cariño a tu número jugué, que yo he soñado con tu nombre. Esperaba conocerte y la tómbola del mundo me premió con tu querer, porque la vida es una tómbola, tom, tom, tómbola. La vida es una tómbola, tom, tom, tómbola, de luz y de colores, de luz y de colores. Y todos en la tómbola, tom, tom, tómbola. Y todos en la tómbola, tom, tom, tómbola. Encuentras un amor, tómbola. Now,
Smile.
and here's a song that a lot of the fans in Las Vegas, when I used to do Judy Garland on the stage, would say, David, sing Smile. And this is a song that Charlie Chaplin wrote. Beautiful song. Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there's a cloud in the sky, you'll get by if you smile through your fear and sorrow. Smile, and maybe tomorrow the sun will come shining through for you. Light up your face with gladness, hide every trace of sadness. Although a tear may be ever so near, That's the time. You must keep on trying. Smile. What's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just light up your face with gladness, hide every trace of sadness, although a tear may be ever so near. That's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just Here are some of the songs I made well known at FINOCCHIO'S. De noche cuando me acuesto, le rezo a la Virgen de la Macarena. Y allí solita en mi cuarto, a mi Virgencita le cuento mis penas. Y de corazón le pido que al gitano que yo quiero, mientras yo viva en el mundo, no me sea traicionero. Y mi Virgencita de la Macarena, como es tan gitana, le da lo que pide, le da lo que pide a esta sevillana. Arrivederci Roma, goodbye, adiós, au revoir. Quiero caminar las mismas calles, quiero suspirar las mismas penas, volver a besar los mismos labios. ¡Ay de mí! Arrivederci Roma, goodbye, adiós, au revoir. Puede que algún día vuelva a verte, vuelva a enamorarme de tu fuente, cumpla el juramento y viva siempre junto a ti. Y my theme song was, I'm gonna live until I die. I'm gonna laugh instead of cry. I'm gonna take this town and turn it upside down. I'm gonna live, live, live until I die. Quiero vivir, quiero cantar. Quiero vivir, quiero soñar, quiero vivir, amar, reír, cantar. Quiero vivir, vivir hasta morir. Por eso canto, por eso río. Vivo la vida, vivo feliz. Por eso canto, por eso río. Y digo así, aleluya, I'm gonna live until I die. I'm gonna laugh instead of cry. I'm gonna take this town and turn it upside down. I'm gonna live, live, live until I die. And now I remember the name of our musical conductor, Bill. Oh my goodness, just so many things in my mind. And he was a wonderful conductor. He did music, and he did the arranging and conducting, and it just so many things store in my mind. Sometimes I go. FINOCCHIO'S was a nightclub that existed for 63 years in San Francisco, and it was owned by Joseph and Eve Finocchio, an Italian couple. And it was known because it was a nightclub in which the men dressed up as women, but they had to either sing, dance, or do comedy, and of course the MC. And everybody had to look real as possible, because the audience was 95% straight people coming from all over the world to see the boys in drag. In fact, there was a saying in San Francisco that Gray Line tour buses, the tour bus guides will tell the customers, when you come to San Francisco, there's two things you must see: the Golden Gate Bridge and the boys at FINOCCHIO'S. That's how famous Finocchio was. So every week, every month, we had famous movie stars from Hollywood that came: Lucille Ball, Eartha Kitt, Phyllis Diller, Liberace, Joan Crawford, movie stars of yesteryear, Bob Hope, and the list went on and on and on. So one day I was singing for Richard Chamberlain, who was my idol when I was a teenager. He's still my idol. Another time is a lovely story. At that time, during the 70s, in San Francisco, when you went to eat at a Kentucky Fried Chicken, and you bought some chicken, they will give you as a gift, which is, they don't do that anymore, a free strawberry pie. So that day I went to Polk Street, a very famous street in San Francisco, and they said to me, "I'm sorry, we are out of pies, but we'll give you a rain check." So that night at Finocchio's, I had this beautiful costume with this beautiful feather boa. And I said to the audience, "Do you like my feathers?" And they clapped. I said, "These are the remainder feathers from the Kentucky Fried Chicken." And I said, "But I'm so disappointed, ladies and gentlemen," because they know about it, because there was a commercial about it in those days. I said, "I went to get my strawberry pie, and they said, 'We don't have any more. Come back another day.'" At that moment, in the back of the audience, who you think was there? Colonel Sanders, the original man who owned the Kentucky Fried Chicken. He was dressed in a white suit. He looked more like a ghost. So he stands up and he says, "Boy, if you ever come to Tennessee, I'll give you not just one pie, but 2 or 3 pies." He sits down. The audience thought this was part of the act. This was not part of the act. So next day in the newspapers, they said, David de Alba sang to Colonel Sanders. And I said to the MC, who was my friend Carol Wallace, I said, "You cannot buy this publicity, because this happened by accident." Another time, I was doing a beautiful French medley, a song that went, "Vamos, vamos a cantar, que la vida es alegre y fugaz, nunca te dejes abatir, canta tu canción, que el canto es amor y felicidad." A lot of more French songs there. "Es la luz de tu mirar la que me hace soñar con dichas infinitas, son tus besos de pasión los que mi corazón y mi alma necesitan." I went on. So I see all these French people with berets clapping around me, so happy. And I said to myself, "Oh my God, we have a French tour bus, of all things, when I'm doing my French medley." So I leave the stage and I see this older gentleman coming in with a cane. He says, "Mr. de Alba, stop, please." And I said, "Yes, sir. What can I do for you?" He says, "Miss Edith Piaf in heaven will be smiling at you because of this tribute you gave her." And I said, "And who are you, sir?" He said, "I was one of the pianists that played in Paris for Miss Piaf." Here's this little boy from Cuba, and the pianist who played for Edith Piaf. I said to Carol Wallace, "Carol, can you believe this? I wish we had, in those days, no movies like now, so we could tape this to keep it, because this doesn't happen every time, to have a famous person congratulate you." And stories like this, I can go on and on and on. Another one was very interesting, was Sergio Franchi was a very famous Italian tenor. And he was sitting in the front. I was here singing, "Arrivederci Roma, goodbye, adios, au revoir." I get through singing, and he gets up, he says, molta bella, you sing that song better than I do." And I said, "Oh my God, Sergio Franchi." He says, "If you want to come to see my show, I give him a free ticket." So I'm singing Arrivederci Roma, and Sergio Franchi is in front. The stories go on and on and on. Those things made my heart beat with love, because those things are always, they tell me at school when I go to spiritism class, time destroys everything, but the only thing that time does not destroy are the memories in your heart. And those memories, unless I get Alzheimer's disease and then I won't remember, those memories are here in like a tattooed in my heart. And sometimes it gives me that uplift to say, wasn't that fun? Why did it go so fast? Why did time run so quickly on you? Because those were fantastic times. So you ask me, what do you want people to remember? Well, that about FINOCCHIO'S, about me from Cuba, leaving Cuba, starting in a new country, becoming an American citizen, being able to work in a very famous nightclub, to own a very well-known hair salon that was on TV many times, because when the local media found out that HERI, the hairstylist, during the daytime did hair and owned the salon, and at nighttime was the guy working in drag at FINOCCHIO'S, that made good headlines. So they would take photos of me at a beauty salon, which are on YouTube, and they would go to FINOCCHIO'S and film me. So all the publicity came without me looking for it. So this is why I want this to be sealed. I should do another costume change to say goodbye. But anyway, so eventually people remember when I go what David de Alba was about in a very condensed way, because there's many things about me, like I'm very spiritually minded. I rescue dogs and birds nobody wants. I love plants. There's many other aspects about me that I don't talk about very often because people get bored unless they like plants and dogs. But there's many things about me. I should do, I know that. Here's a picture of my mom in 1967 when we went to see Judy Garland in Chicago. I did her hair then. And here's a picture of Paul with me taken about 5 years ago here in Henderson by the one of the casinos.